Welcome one and all. Myself, Dr. Tarun Prashant. Today's class is on Charcots Arthropathy. Why have I put this image when it comes to Charcots Arthropathy? The thing that you know, or the first thing that you see when a patient with Charcots Arthropathy is going to come to you, is you need to know that everything has gone wrong. The whole structure, the whole component, everything is doomed and everything is falling down. So what happens when everything falls down? The first thing that you need to know is why it has fallen down, what is the reason that has fallen down, and what are the things that needs to be taken care from now in order to prevent something else like this again. So first on, going to a definition. When do you diagnose or when do you tell that a patient has Charcot's neuroarthropathy? So Charcot's neuroarthropathy is a chronic, non-infective, devastative and destructive disease of the bone structure and joints in patient with a neuropathy characterized by either a painful or almost always a painless bone and joint destruction in limbs, with mostly patients who have a loss of sensory innervation. So when we think of this definition, the one thing that you need to know is there are a few components. First, the chronicity. Second of all, it being non-infective. Next, destructive, both the bone and the joint. So all these are occurring due to some problem with the patient having a loss of sensation. So this intriguing fact was first thought about by this pathologist and a neurologist named Jean-Martin Charcot. So what did Jean-Martin Charcot do? He had started seeing a paradigm of patients who are coming in with these issues with a destructive bone disease, and he tried to find out what was the reason behind it or what were the other associated factors. And what he found almost always was all these patients had syphilis, and along with that they had a myelopathy component associated with it. Following this, furthermore discoveries were made, and it came into account that a loss of nerve or the sensation part of it has a higher predilection for this disease. So the common neurological conditions that in which these present are in cases of spina bifida, in cases of meningomyelocele, in cases of cerebral palsy, syringomyelia. All these are associated conditions wherein you need to be careful or let the patient know that there is a high predilection for Charcot's neuroarthropathy. The other conditions are increased steroid intake, increased alcohol intake, and in patients with leprosy who have a sensory loss. And the most common cause of Charcot's of the foot being diabetes. So coming to the epidemiology. So the first thing that you need to know is how existent is it? How much is the incident and how much is the prevalence? Me already making a statement that it's common in diabetics, you need to know that India being the largest country with the maximum population of diabetes, we are bound to see more patients with the same condition. So in order to know that, you need to know the prevalence. So the prevalence is about 0.1 to 4% to 0.4% in patients with diabetes. The prevalence increases by 35% when the patient is having a peripheral neuropathy with diabetes mellitus. More common in type 1 diabetes, 5th, 6th decade, and if the patient has been having diabetes more than 20 years in case of diabetes 1, and in case of 10 to 15 years in case with patients with diabetes mellitus type 2. Most commonly, a unilateral involvement is seen when these patients present to the OP. So why does this occur?